Hi everyone, it's Mr. Short here. So we're going to be looking at something to keep us going during this lockdown time, and we're going to start with a bit of Scratch. This will be something that everyone from grade 3 all the way through to 7 can work on. Depending on how confident you feel, you're welcome to go further, obviously, than what I've gone through in the videos. In fact, I encourage that. Because it's great to see what you've been up to and where your ideas have led you, which are often require more than what your teacher's actually been able to give you in the lesson. So if you decide to take the initiative and go ahead with your video and add things to your animated movie, which is what we're going to start with today, go for it. Let nothing stand in your way. With that in mind, there'll be new learners, who haven't actually been exposed to Scratch yet in my class this year. We did do a project last year. We did a project the year before as well. I think they were both, no, the one was a game, the one was a short animated film. So they've had a bit of exposure to both types, and you guys and girls will remember a lot of the basics as I go through this video. It'll start to come back to you. For the newer folk, you learners are going to have to pay extra attention to what I do, but I will take it easy. We're going to start with something nice and simple like an animated film, which just involves actually adding some speech bubbles and thinking bubbles and maybe moving some little characters around on the screen. But there won't actually be any control from the viewer's side. It's not a game, it'll be a film, so it'll just be for watching. So we won't have to worry about those kind of commands either. We're just going to focus on creating a short animated film. So how do we get there? Well, in case you didn't see the email, the website is very easy to access. The address is, you can see it at the top, I've highlighted it, scratch.mit.edu. And that'll take you to this web page where you can register. You just need your email, and at that point you can go for it. You can start creating, you can look at other creations, and all the published work that's been shared by adults and children across the world is available to look at here. And you can even get ideas about how to do things because all the code is available. It's a great way for anyone who wants an introduction to the world of programming without having to do all the legwork, because a lot of the writing is done, all the commands are pre-made in bubbles that you can drag and drop, almost like a puzzle piece. And I'll show you that in a moment. So how do we get there? Well, after you've created your username and password and you've logged into Scratch, you'll see exactly what I'm seeing. This is their home page, and I'm logged in too. And this top bar is the one we need. It's got all the buttons we need to go everywhere. For now, we're going to go to create, because we haven't done anything yet. But after we've actually saved our project and we want to continue working on it in the future, you'll actually go to this site where your username is, and you'll see the little down arrow at the end of your username, whatever you chose on your screen. If you click that, that's a menu, and there it says My Stuff. And you can go there and you can see what you saved and open it from there. Don't forget that, because you don't want to go to create every time you want to, continue with the project you were busy with. So just for today, we go to create, and I'm going to click there. By the way, I'm trying to make these videos 15 minutes or shorter. YouTube has a limitation on that. I've had a bit of a struggle with the verification process. So until I get that fixed, I'm just going to keep them at 15 minutes. It's very easy for me to simply create a second video if the lesson needs to be longer. But honestly, I think 15 minutes is quite a lot for doing something like this, because it'll require you to pause quite often to try carry out my instructions from the video and make it happen on your own screen. And that can be tricky, switching between the two. And it's not a process that should be rushed at all. If you start coming up with ideas to do things different ways to try achieve the same outcome, but you found a different way to do it and you'd like to try it out, I really encourage everyone to do that. That's the most fun about programming, especially when you put in something that you didn't quite intend to happen, that's the funnest thing. We don't call them mistakes in programming. We take a page from Bob Ross and call them happy accidents. And they can often be very fun to try figure out how to fix the mistakes we've made. So yeah, I encourage everyone to do that. But for the newer learners, you might want to stick on track a bit more with me, just to get a feel for how everything works, and then start, going crazy and having fun and seeing if you can find different ways to do the same thing. So with that in mind, let's get going with our first project with a short animated film. We're just going to have 2 or more characters talking to each other. How many you choose is up to you. For what we're going to have our film about, perhaps you can share some of your experiences at home, being stuck at home, what it's been like. Has it been fun? I'm sure there's been fun moments, so you can share some of those, and maybe some of the things you wish you could be doing. So feel free to do that too. Keep it appropriate. You can always be angry in letters or animated movies without being inappropriate, so be creative there. But I also like to see the fun things you've done. So let's get a little conversation going on my screen, and you can use that as a way to get your video going. So as you can see, we've got a kitty cat in the top right corner at the moment. We've got a big empty area here in the middle, and we've got lots of colorful buttons here on the left, lots of bubbles. And when I click each one, I get lots of options, it seems, that are related to that color. And they each have different little headings. The good news is, for our first animated film, we're not going to need all of them. Mostly we'll be playing with the top half, and not even with all of those. We'll get to that in a second. So first, I want to just go over the most important thing of all, saving your work and going back, and how to fix mistakes quickly and easily without panicking, and how to open saved work all from this screen, just so you get an idea of how the main toolbar works. So up here we've got this big blue toolbar. That's important. We've got a bar here you can actually type in. That is the name of your project, so you can call it what you'd like, perhaps Lockdown, My Story, or something like that. You choose, come up with something for it. We've got a file button here. Sorry, over here. You can see it says Save Now. So after you've given it a name, give it a save, maybe every 10 minutes. You never know. Computer might freeze, lightning may strike. We never know what's going to happen with our computers and whether they're going to behave themselves or not. Even if you're on a smartphone, give it a save now and again. It actually does do an auto save, but again, don't even trust that. Give it a save every 10 minutes, because losing your work is never fun. Alright, so with that in mind, give it a name, save, and hit the motion button on the left if it's not there. So we should be seeing all these blue buttons over here. And on our right, just one sprite, no background. So you can think of the big middle area as the canvas. This is where we're going to create our world, our story. And so we'll be clicking on these various options, sound, events, looks, motion, and we'll actually be dragging the bubbles into the center, where this window here will show us then what we've done over here. What will be the result of our work if we had to try and make it all work together. So we've got a green flag button here which will play and force all the code we've added to the center to work and show us. And we can actually make that bigger with this button over here. We can press play and then make it smaller again, so we can get a good look at what our movie looks like once we're ready for publishing. Down here we'll see all the sprites we've added. Now, what is a sprite? That's sort of a buzzword for an animated character that has been created with pixel art, painted with pixels. This one here is this one here is called Scratch. He's their mascot for the website, but there are dozens, hundreds more that we can use, as well as backgrounds to get rid of this boring white. So let's do that quickly. Let's add a background and maybe add some characters to our movie. So first, background, this bottom button here, choose a backdrop. If I hover over it, this menu appears and you'll see there's a magnifying glass button there. Choose a backdrop. So I click that. And since our story takes place inside at home, we're going to look for a scene that matches that. There we go. Which house? I'm going to choose this one. And there is Scratch. He looks a little big, but that's okay. You might find that you choose a different picture and your sprites, your characters, feel a little too big or too small. They don't work very well for the scene. Well, you can fix that by clicking your sprite down here, the one that you want to change. And you'll see it says size. And there's a number. Right now it's on 100, so that's his normal size. And we can change that if I type in here 80 and I press enter on my keyboard. We get a slightly smaller Scratch. If I go to the cat and I hover over that button, I get this menu. And again, I click the magnifying glass. I can choose another sprite to join Scratch in a conversation. So who's he going to be talking to? Well, on mine, I'm going to have him talk to a dinosaur. There we go. He seems sufficiently large compared to Scratch. I could make him much bigger. Let's give him a Godzilla size. Make him a bit more intimidating. There we go. All right. So we've got two sprites. We've got a background. Let's add a bit of code. Just want to check my time quickly, as my 15 minutes is my mark for finishing off before I start a new one. There we go. We've still got about 4.5 minutes. So let's add a bit of code for our two characters. Let's get them talking. So how do we do that? So we've got looks here, a purple button, and if we click it, we'll see at the top we've got options that begin with say, think. Then there's more about costumes and backdrops. But we're going to play with these ones, say and think. Our characters are going to be saying things and thinking things in our short animated movie. So these are the most important ones right here at the top of the purple menu, looks. Let's get Scratch to, I don't know, has something to say about this giant T-Rex that's just invaded his home. Or maybe he's come to visit, and maybe that's his friend. So let's put that out there at the top. Say hello for 2 seconds. I clicked it and dragged it, put it in the middle. I don't want him to say hello though, something a bit more exciting than that. Oops, and I've also noticed, take a look. If you look in the bottom right, dinosaur is blue at the moment. That means I'm actually on the wrong sprite. I'm about to make our dinosaur say something. So I'm going to drag this and let go. That gets rid of the command, because I don't want that now. Another way to undo something you've done, as some of the learners will remember, is if you're holding Control on your keyboard and tap the letter Z for undo. And that takes away the last thing you did. So we can click on our sprite quick, Mr. Scratch, go to say hello, change hello to a dinosaur, exclamation mark. He's going to say that for 2 seconds. Now if I want to test this out and see if it works, remember I click the green flag. So I'm going to click it and you're going to notice that nothing happens. Can you remember why? For those of you who've done some Scratch in the past, can you figure out why he's not doing anything? And it's because we haven't told it when. As I've always told you folks, that we have to be very specific with Scratch, with things like coding, and of course, you know, with a Google search, when you're looking for information, you need to be specific. And in this case, there's something we haven't told Scratch to do, and that's we haven't told him when. And that's a really important command in the world of programming and games and so on, is when. We haven't said anything, he's not doing anything. So how do we do that? How do we add a when to our game or our animated movie? We go to events. That's this yellow orangey bubble. It says events. And if you look at the top, there's a when for us. It says when green flag clicked. And of course they're talking about the green flag in the top right. And you'll notice it's got a bit of a protrusion here, and that's an indent on that one. And yeah, they come together like puzzle pieces. So I put this one on top, they're joined now, and if I press the green flag, there we go. Scratch goes and says a dinosaur. So we've got that working, and he says it for 2 seconds. Now we're going to want our dinosaur to say something back, and I'll cover that in the next video. That's it for getting Scratch to talk. Don't forget to click save in the top right, and I'll see you folks in the next video. Thank you.